Hello, my fellow volcano lovers. A very interesting update today about Etna and Stromboli in Italy. So both volcanoes, both craters, both mountains, so to speak, have changed significantly. So one up and one down, so to speak. Why have they changed? Because they've been erupting, and Stromboli has been violently erupting. We talk about this, and then Etna has erupted again. So we will start with Etna, and then I'll tell you what happened to Stromboli, because that is very, very interesting. But Etna is equally as interesting. What we will hear today, how this mountain has changed and what it did just today, guys. So if you could leave this video an early like, it helps to push out this video. And if you're interested in Campi Flegrei, I will release a very interesting video about that probably tomorrow, guys. So if you're new here, subscribe for that, click the notification bell. So let's start with Etna. Etna has become taller. Etna has been growing, and it has reached a height right now of 3,369 meters. Why did it grow? Because it kept erupting all the time. So by erupting, by spewing out lava, it's running around the tip of the mountain and increasing it there. So therefore, it really has changed the picture of how this looks. And I want to show you a picture of the INGV here. They have basically, that's the tip that you see here of Etna, and you see the highest point is now 3,369 meters above sea level, and they call this crater Volcani, and the other is called Bocca Nuova. So that's also a new area. And then we have the Cratere di Northeast, whatever I'm speaking it, mixing it, how you pronounce it, the northeastern crater. So interesting. And that had happened basically July 7th, July 9th, and then it was spewing around yesterday and today. So here they show you 4 pictures that basically show what has been happening. So they did fly over the summit of Etna on July 9th. That basically was after the last 2 violent eruptions. And you see that the relief that was created by these 2 paroxysmal episodes. A paroxysmal eruption is a violent explosive eruption, and there were 2, July 4th and July 7th. So this has already changed the crater, and there was another eruption today. So we have to wait for another Coast Guard helicopter flight, how this has further changed the summit. On the eastern rim of the Volcani crater, it is very visible, and there's the new highest point of Etna. And in the foreground, we have the Bocca Nuova crater that is completely filled with lava, with debris, with rocks, with stuff that was blown out from the 2 paroxysms, the violent explosions from July 4th and July 7th. And also there is a very evident lava flow that you see to the west of the crater. The last time that it was announced that Etna basically has a new peak was on August 10th in 2021. The southeastern crater had officially surpassed its older brother, the northeast crater, that you can also see here in this picture. The northeast crater had held this record for quite a long time, guys, since the 1970s. So this shows you that what Etna has been doing the last 2 weeks basically is quite significant. So since 2021, the crater or the height of Etna was calculated at 3,347 meters. And then since then, the southeast crater did continue to grow. And then most recently last year, they had a paroxysm on December 1st in 2023. It was growing to a height of 3,354 meters. And for 6 months, Etna has remained unusually calm since then. But then on the morning of June 14th this year, a very weak volcanic activity began inside the Voragine crater, within one of these pyroclastic cones that had filled this crater between 2019 and 2021. And this one had remained completely silent for over 3 years. So the last ash emission that was coming out from that crater was in April 2021. But then in the following 3 weeks after June 14th, basically, a progressive increase in activity and intensity was observed. And from June 28th, small lava flows were added to that volcanic activity. So there were rumblings, there were earthquakes, there was ashes spitting out, but then June 28th, the lava activity started, and it has spilled the lava into the adjacent Bocca Nuova crater, filling that up. And also, if lava's spilling out, it usually builds some new cones, and it did grow a new cone around these explosive vents that it had there. And these cones did reach quite a height, guys, of several tens of meters above the point where the activity originally started. And this did grow that much just within a few days. And then on the evening of July 4th, the eruptive activity at the Voragine crater rapidly intensified, producing lava fountains and forming an eruptive column that was several kilometers high. So really, really impressive. And this is something. So this paroxysmal episode did last for more than 7 hours and profoundly changed the morphology of this summit area. It has changed the peak, as we just discussed. And the pyroclastic cone that had grown in the days before this violent explosive eruption happened was then destroyed again. So instead of that cone, a significant accumulation of that pyroclastic material did basically end up on the edges of the Voragine crater. So the surveys that they carried out, mostly carried out by the INGV.Etna Observatory's cartography and drone laboratory on July 5th, have revealed that the eastern rim of the Voragine crater did rise by, and guys, listen to this, 107 meters. So that is significant. And it was able to reach the same height as the southeastern crater. So it also had the height 3,354 meters. So during this episode, many byproducts of these lava fountains did fall back into the Bocca Nuova crater, and they did fill in the 2 large internal pits. They call them BN1 and BN2, and they did eventually cover part of the crater floor with a lava flow. Then on July 7th, there was a second explosive episode at the same Voragine vent or crater, and it did increase the thickness of the deposits further, including the height of the eastern crater rim, which is, according to drone surveys, now as high as 3,369 meters. And that's the highest that Etna has ever been measured, the highest level ever measured. And the Bocca Nuova crater was completely filled. In addition to that, completely filled. And then from the western rim, same as it happened already in 2016, there was a lava flow that was overflowing. And that did feed several lava flows that have reached a maximum length of significant 500 meters, half a kilometer. So to find all that out, you know, this is quite a crater. This is quite a 3D structure. So measuring and defining this high resolution topographic surface is not a simple process, guys. That's why they need quite a little bit of time until we get the next update, especially if they want to reach a certain level of precision, coming down to the order of centimeters or inches. They can't use the classic topographic techniques, especially the more accurate ones that are usually used. You cannot use them in dangerous environments like the summit crater area of Etna. These days, especially since it's so active and rumbling, the time that personnel spends at that high altitude must be minimized for their safety. That's why they're using drones, because they can pilot them from relatively safe zones. And drones, of course, allow them to survey even larger areas, which would take too long if you just had a guy climbing up there. They're also using satellites. They're very useful to reconstruct how the volcano was looking by creating digital elevation models for even larger areas. You know, they're using this also for bradyseisms, land rises, deformation measurements. They're doing this in Iceland right now. They're also doing this at Campi Flegrei. And from the satellite, it's totally safe, right? That makes sense. But even if they're using drones and satellites combined, they often need ground control points with heights that can be verified by other systems to increase the accuracy. So what the experts are saying, because of this is a continuous and increasingly sophisticated job to give us all these data, and definitely they have to conduct more studies. It's so difficult for two reasons, because the volcano changes the shape far too quickly, right? Because they need time, and then, you know, they always want to increase the accuracy to obtain terrain models that are as close to reality as possible. So that's why that picture gives us a quite good overview. And here you can see pictures. They were taken on July 5th. That was personal from the INGV.Etna Observatory's Cartography and Drones Laboratory, and it was assisted by research fellows and PhD students. They also did participate in the Volcanic flying school for the drones. So this is really, they're training people how to do that. And they went to the base of Etna's summit area at approximately 3,000 meters altitude. So that's quite high, right? That's almost at the top. So for safety reasons, they can't go any higher. And they have conducted the surveys with the drones there. The drones were equipped with visible and thermal sensors in order to quantify the morphological changes that we just talked about in the various crater areas. So have a look at these two maps. The map on the left is the lava fields from July 4th and 7th. And the ones on the right is a thermal mosaic that was created with drone images made on July 8th. They're processing these visible and these thermal images that they are acquiring by the drone flights, and this allowed them for the extraction of a digital terrain model and these orthomosaics. And then these were analyzed to map the lava flows and the pyroclastic products that were emitted by these lava fountains. And also, and that's interesting because that's why they need these images, distinguish the cooling products from the still happening lava flow, and then make assessments about the quantity of lava that is coming out. But that is all over now because it did spit out more today. But it's good that you know about that status, and then once we have the current data from today's eruption, we can compare. So it's like in a school, you have to subscribe, guys, so that you learn about the next level. But stay with me because Stromboli is very, very interesting. And this is an interesting chart. Basically on the right, you see the chart with the different heights from the different craters. And on the left side, you can also see it just from a different perspective. So the darker it gets, the higher it is. If you look at that chart, you can say that the morphology of the small pyroclastic cone that had a maximum base diameter of 30 meters that was growing inside the Voragine crater due to volcanic activity that was, as I mentioned, began on June 14th, was profoundly modified by the paroxysm on July 4th. And then the data shows that the cone had a subcircular base and a rim with diameters of 170 meters and 90 meters. And it was open towards the southwest in the direction of the Bocca Nuova crater. And on the eastern rim of the Voragine crater, there was pyroclastic material that had accumulated with a maximum thickness of 107 meters. And this thickness was obtained by the difference between the elevation values that they measured on July 5th and on May 29th. That is what you can see in the graph on the right. You can see the different, how the heights were on May 29th, and then how it had changed on July 5th. And I want to show you what these explosive, violent eruptions do to their equipment that they have on the mountain that is powered by solar panels, the measuring stations, the seismic equipment. So it looks like the surface of the moon a little bit. So the INGV has published pictures how their equipment looks. I showed you some pictures of Stromboli, how the LNG equipment looked. It looked like Mars. This looks like the moon is more gray here on Etna. It was more brownish beige on Stromboli. So they show here the pictures how everything is covered, and on Stromboli they did send personnel up there to clean it, and so did they here, but they have to be careful. So they just released this yesterday. They're saying the intense activity of the past few days has partially buried and in some cases also unfortunately damaged the monitoring stations that are located in the crater area. And that's a problem because this is what gives you a warning time for the next event. And Etna is on Sicily, which is a larger island than Stromboli. Basically, Stromboli is a small island. The volcano is the island, so to speak. But Sicily, there's more people and more buildings and stuff that might be affected by Etna. So they're thanking two volcanological guides that it was possible to partially and promptly restore most measuring instruments to functioning conditions. So look at these images. I'm amazed because you'd think that the material and the ashes are still hot, that they didn't melt anything. I mean, you see the solar panel is damaged. It looks like it has been bending a little bit from the heat, but also that some heavy rockfall did hit the solar panels. And that's the danger. There was a hiker killed in 2019 on Stromboli that was hiking on Stromboli, and then this violent explosion happened and he was hit by volcanic rocks that were being spit out by the volcano, and he died, unfortunately. And if you see the size of the hole here, if you're hiking there and you're hit by this, right, that's definitely not good. And then this is basically a mild ash emission that they recorded from the northeastern crater and from the Voragine crater. And they said such activity can spread quickly above these summit peak craters. So they said the forecast pattern of the possible eruption cloud is southeasterly direction. So this is how it looked. And then just 3 hours later, it was already getting dark, or it was already dark in Italy. They released these two pictures, a thermal image, and there you see it's erupting. So they said starting at 7 p.m., there has been a gradual increase in the volcanic activity at the Voragine crater, and they say that it could produce a very erosive cloud. They also said when this picture was taken that it shows an increase in value, that it's still growing and has reached a very high level. They also said the seismic activity, the center of the sources of these volcanic tremors, was also east of the Voragine crater at an elevation of about 3,000 meters. That's where the scientists were. That's where it was shaking 3,000 meters above sea level. And they also were able to measure deformations. That's always, if magma's on the move, it's rising, there are these deformations. And then just an hour later, they released these two images. They were saying the intensity did increase further, and also the lava fountain that was coming out did increase. Ash emissions increased. The average width of the volcanic area, including the area with tremors, did show further increase with very high values. So this was nothing small. So that was at the Voragine crater, that is at an elevation of between 2,900 to 3,000 meters above sea level. And then basically just right now, they did release another thermal image where you can see it has subsided, it's coming down. You still see a little bit of heat, a little bit of lava simmering there. So they say the lava fountain at the moment appears poorly fed, so it's not massive again. Also, the average magnitudes of these volcanic seismic quakes that have occurred seem to be in a decreasing trend. The epicenter of the quakes is still at a height of about 3,000 meters. The infrasonic activity is low. It's mainly located at the southeast crater right now. So we have to wait and see, will it come down again or will it wake up again? I'll keep you updated about this. So let's see what our friend Stromboli is doing, because not only Etna has changed, Stromboli has changed significantly as well. The Laboratory for Geophysics, for Experimental Geophysics, did a flight, a helicopter, a military helicopter flight over Stromboli basically today. And this is what you see. I mean, it also looks a little bit apocalyptic, like on another planet. It's not producing these dark, black, solidified lava areas that you see in Iceland or Hawaii. It's more like, looks like dirt or ashes mixed with soil. And there you see in the video, you see the slide of fire where the lava was sliding down into the sea, causing these explosive events with the white smoke. When lava is mixing with water, it causes volcanic gases, chlorine gases. So they basically took the helicopter and they did fly around Stromboli basically one time. And you can also see where it's looking greener and it's getting flat. These white dots there, this is where the settlement is. This is where people live, and this is where they bring the tourists. And so you see, it's a lot of material that is there as well. And we will look at how this summit of Stromboli has changed, because in an event just a few days ago, it was violently, something was breaking off. I can show you the pictures here again. The line shows how it was, and then you see basically that is gone, and it did slide down the slide of fire together with all the other material, causing this massive, massive ash cloud. And they also released some pictures, and they're thanking the Department of Civil Protection that they allowed them to use the army helicopter that you see here in the picture. But what you can also see is here, this is an interesting picture. June 24th this year. You see the summit on the left of this picture, and then you see the picture taken that was just taken yesterday. So there you see that cone, that part of the crater has collapsed and did slide down the slide of fire, and there's a big hole there right now currently. So it looks totally different. So while Etna has gained height, Stromboli basically has lost height. And then they also show their instruments, and you also see the solar panels with holes in it, also like completely covered in this mud and in dust. And there you can see they're trying to clean it, and there's the guys that are up there. But you see the solar panel that was cleaned, it looks like the glass is shattered by rockfall or something like this. So I'm not sure that they were able to repair it in a way that it's functioning anymore. And then they showed here really that you see all the volcanic matter that has been spit out there, the ballistic material that's on that summit now. Looks like a desert or something. Really, if you see that, would you think that's in Italy? It looks like Afghanistan or something like this in the middle of the desert, right? Looks a little bit like a war zone if you look at all these instruments. And then they have shown the same picture again, basically, and what they're saying is it's easier to understand how the summit has changed if you have a point of reference. That's why if you look at the red circle, look at that rock formation there. In both pictures, it's the same rock formation. So that's your point of reference, where you can see from the left side how it has changed, how it is now to the right side. So that crater, that cone there is gone. It did slide down, and there is this hole that we talked about. And that violent eruption that we have seen at Stromboli on July 11th seems to be calm right now. There is satellite images made from the MODIS and the Landsat on July 13th, and they confirm that the effusive activity at Stromboli is currently over. As you can see here in the pictures, there are low intensity thermal anomalies associated with the cooling of the lava that was pouring down that slide of fire in the past few days. So you can see the activity that was happening there from May till July. You see really an increased activity in July, and also then there you can see it through the other satellite. So yeah. Guys, that was my quick update, maybe not so quick, about Etna and Stromboli. I will release more information about both volcanoes and definitely Campi Flegrei, and wait for something about Iceland as well. I'm just trying to keep up with everything. I hope you have seen my video about Florida, about the sinkhole alley in Florida. If not, I'll put it here in the end screen, guys. It's worth watching. It's something that I didn't know, and I bet many other people don't know either, especially if you go there as a tourist. And many people that want to move there or move there don't know about it. We're not talking about isolated incidents of 1 or 2 sinkholes. We're talking about huge sinkholes of diameters of 400 feet, 120 meters, as deep as 500 feet, 150 meters. So they swallow several homes at once with people that are in them. One guy vanished, disappeared in his sleep. Car dealerships, swimming pools. So this is a problem that has persisted there for decades, but with more and more construction, it's a huge problem, guys, and you will be stunned where in Florida it is and in how many areas it is. But it's in one area that is for tourists, the mecca of tourists, and there it's basically the epicenter. And I bet you didn't know that if you're sleeping in your hotel room, you might be sucked in by a sinkhole, guys. So if you thought the alligators are the problem in Florida, I urge you to check out this video. So thanks, guys. Please subscribe. Please like this video. Thanks for your ongoing support. If you want to support the channel, me, my farm, and Rudy and the animals, there's a link in the description to my Buy Me a Coffee site. There you can buy me coffees and for free. Subscribe. And also, of course, thanks for the supers that you're giving me here on YouTube. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate this. And I hope to see you very, very soon, guys. I hope you're all staying cool. If you're living in an area that has the hot summer right now, enjoy it, cool off, go swimming. I hope you can do that. And stay safe, be prepared. I see you very soon, guys. Bye-bye.